Hey folks, so today I'm playing Eldritch. Um, Trying to work out Cam Studio as well. Uh, it's a really interesting game. It came out a while ago. Very cheap on Steam. Did not cost me much. Um, it's one of those games that it's if you had to kind of pin it to a genre, it's a horror. It's like a horror first-person roguelike. This is all to pin it into a genre that sometimes it obeys and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's too silly really to be a horror game. You do stuff that's a little too stupid. That's creepy. And other times you're screaming and it's earning its name. All the levels are randomly generated, and so I've played this asylum level a couple different times, and it's always completely different. Really kind of gives you that increased sense of horror because you don't really know what's next. You don't know what's coming. You don't know. You have a general notion of where to go, but you can't really plan out the strategy as well as you can in a game where you might be able to know this is what's around the corner. This is coming up next. All that kind of stuff. This also goes without saying just how creepy some of the sound design is. Taking a lot of hits here. Oh, that's not good. I didn't mean to do that. Oh, good. Stealth boots are fun. Had those before. It's also one of those games, given the graphics, given the presentation of it, the audio really wins out over the graphics. And the graphics are not really necessarily older, just not as high end. I died from something. Not sure what I died from that time. The graphics are just not that high end. The result of this actually is that I really like this game specifically for the reason that it's not graphically demanding. I'm playing it. Good freaking grief, that was creepy. I'm playing it on a laptop that I just picked up not that long ago. My old computer died. So this new laptop, not very expensive, maybe $450. But I'm having no problems running this game right now. And it really is something to think about just on the the material end of things. What games demand a lot for you to run with? What games don't? These are real questions. Killed myself turning the corner. That was lovely. These are real questions to consider. These are fairly serious issues, honestly. And part of it is we have this obsession with newness, that everything has to be new, that everything has to be top of the line, or pushing some degree of innovation that we have not previously pushed. These kinds of catchphrases, and ultimately, the sense of newness doesn't exclusively come out of one particular era, but we see it at least in almost to a point of obsession, actually within modernist literature. Ezra Pound and T.S. Eliot and that crew, the sense that, to make it new is to make it better. Now, the reason that I don't particularly care for this, but this is the reason that they're going for this, is to build a sense of poetry that moves. I don't have a compass. To build a sense of poetry that moves beyond the. I mean, honestly, you can think of it as the accessible, the known quantity that was the poetry getting printed in the time that Pound and Eliot and all them were writing in. Okay, I'm probably gonna die, but that's all right. The poetry at that time getting printed is well, I don't quite know how to describe it. Not great. It's not that interesting, to be honest. And a lot of it kind of rehashes. There's some stuff the people who called it older forms. Robertson Jeffers actually got left behind a lot out of that group. But the point is, the Make It New stuck when Pound stuck, when Eliot stuck, when these people formed our modern poetry canon in America. And then that influence, to everywhere else in the world, obviously passes on, and as well the American cultural obsessions kind of pass on. That's just the model of the 20th century. I'm not gonna make it this time. The point is that we see this, moving. We see it going through the paces, and so, you see everything coming out first as some kind of radical new. Yeah, this is the way it's got to be. This is what's exciting. All this kind of stuff. Well, the idea that we should be obsessed with newness, with innovation, with all this stuff, that's not radical anymore. There's nothing. There's nothing particularly exciting about that kind of a call to action these days, because it's simply what is there. I overshot it. Well, in games we see this a lot with, like I said, kind of a graphical obsession, a graphical edge that everyone wants to have over everyone else. When in actuality that ends up pushing people out. And so, I think with this game and with a lot of games in particular, okay, let's not do that maybe. The idea that we have to make it new is, it's not only a question on graphics of do we make it new, but it also then becomes a question, in this case, the gameplay on this isn't new either. It's just a conglomeration of existing play types, existing genres, all of these things, and it's a little bit of what Howard S. Becker talks about when he talks about conventions, in Art is Collective Action. He talks about this kind of stuff, I mean, more succinctly than I would be able to talk about it more carefully. But the point is, what he draws is that conventions move slowly, that art changes over time, not by leaps and bounds, but, by inches. It's a game of inches. And that's something, I think that it's due to consider when you think about games. That we think about how we can obsess over the newest and the most exciting, when realistically what is most exciting is potentially an innovation which is not an innovation at all. It's a recasting. It's a revisiting of something. The idea that everything must be made new is a marketing ploy by okay. It's a marketing ploy by a modernist poet. Yeah, that's death. So I'm going to kind of wrap up there a little bit. It is to say these are things to be wary of. It's not to say on the flip side of that that anything that is new is bad. Anything that is new has this mark, but instead it's a matter of obsession. It's a matter of what is it that we culturally obsess about? What is it that we culturally move towards without any real reason to move in that direction? And if newness is one of those things, if it's one of those things that's keeping us in a progression that does not allow access, and a progression that doesn't necessarily allow people with the money or the cultural capital, the education, and when education I can just mean playing games for 20 years or so. If you're not allowed into that conversation, then it's not necessarily a good conversation. There's no inherent goodness just because it's new, just because that's what the obsession pushes you towards. There's got to be a deeper reason to these kinds of things, and there's got to be a deeper answering and a criticism and a critique of those kinds of things. So I'm going to wrap up there. Got a little heady on Eldritch, but this really is a great game. It's a lot of fun. It's got a really good horror vibe to it. Very good if you're good at or scared of jump scares. It's very good for that. And it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to wrap up there, and yeah, that's about all I got. All right.